Hello, good evening, and welcome to Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present. Our top stories in the news tonight: a village headman in Central Province allegedly defiles a 14-year-old girl. The UPND challenged to take responsibility over the issue of CADRES. The Socialist Party cautioned against misinterpreting Zambia's ties with China. In international news, Sudanese refugees in Libya asked the UN for help. And in sports news, Zambians in AOTEAROA Association host traditional lunch for Copper Queens.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Hello again, the news in detail. A general worker of Ndalama village in Mungula chiefdom of Chibombo district has called for the arrest of a 60-year-old man he accuses of defiling and impregnating his 14-year-old daughter. The father of 6 says the suspect, who is the village headman, identified as Ndalama, allegedly defiled his daughter in August 2022, but no arrest has been made despite the matter being reported to the police. The victim's father claims in an interview that the family has suffered a double tragedy due to failure by the police to enforce the arrests. Meanwhile, the 42-year-old man has also accused his 36-year-old wife of working together with the headman to bury the matter. More in this report.
A home is usually regarded as a safe haven for children, but it was not so. For 14-year-old Faith Tembo, not her real name, has her alleged defiler followed her right into her father's house when no one was at home. It was during the day in August 2022 when the victim, while at home, was allegedly abused. According to the victim's father, he accuses the village headman, a Mr. Ndalama, who is believed to be in his 60s, with 3 wives, of being behind the alleged act. Not only was his 14-year-old daughter defiled, but impregnated too, unfortunately lost the baby due to complications.
In fact, ni chikuru nizofuna kuti niziwe nangankani pamene ndi pamene iperera ni pati nankusira inasira bwanji kuti nkhali chezi until today orokapena kusira isira bwanji nkhali ndiziwe kaikasiridwe kankhani kuti kani zasira bwanji because guys nankhalepo nawo sanchizipo nawo and futi kulibe any reaction amene chitika konse kuli mapepers na wanda pasoni zoenda kwamene uja kunaweza ita direct kuti wakanitandizireko ndizibe nkhani kuti nangankhani isira bwanji.
This family of Ndalama village in Mungule chiefdom in Chibombo district near Lusaka has stayed for almost a year without seeing any action taken against the man who allegedly abused their daughter, despite the matter being reported to the police. The 42-year-old general workers also accused his 36-year-old wife of working together with the alleged abuser in order to bury the case. He alleges that his wife took off with their daughter to Siavonga district without his knowledge.
So mukona kwanu mbona munga wakazi wanu wezipana kalapansi na wamina wa suspect wa HEADMAN impact wa shike drop mulani watawene mwana wa wapanji.
Ndiye kuganiza wangu kacha mwenye chingeza uti mganizie so wafesi pamene wanaenda unaitaje wotabisha kwenda naye na siana gura konse kwa kuskuru uti mwana ndi skuru beva mtenga waenda naye dena hapa futi wa bwedi so nafuna kuti wankale kuti very way forward nkani endera pandi futi wa mtenga futi watawanaye futi waenda naye so ndiye pamene ita suspect pamene hapa.
In a separate interview, a twin sister to the victim is now pleading with the authorities to find the alleged abuser and ensure he faces the law for destroying her sister's future dreams.
Zilemba nao pamoja grade 7 nani mchimani wama ningi mafuna mpundumizanga nani nizilemba naye grade 7 mwanga mwenye mbela ine na mwe wale mbela wana bao mwe wangale wana bao naye sindemo itifuni ya itinkalile so tabe tinkalile mameti na gulizirana ndiye mwetifuna kuti tinkhalire kozi naweveveve vakudya sinziwa kudya pano odwala kapena alichabe bwino sinziwa kudya kweyalili mamene alili naye mtima niwa maningi ndikaganiza nimafuna naweve akalembe akankhale bwino akasize skulu.
Meanwhile, Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights has pledged to help the family get justice on the matter.
We need to arrest this man with immediate effect because the arrest defiler is aged between 60 and above. So we cannot allow such a situation to continue happening in the nation, and we cannot allow as organization to sweep such cases under the carpet. We are very disappointed.
Child development cases have been on the rise in recent years. Various stakeholders are now calling for lawmakers to ensure that the offense become a non-bailable or bondable charge. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
BESTOW and Maintenance Limited has started mobilizing equipment in readiness to begin the construction of a 168 kilometers dual carriageway from Chingola to Mutanda. The construction of the 168 dual carriageway from Chingola to Mutanda will be implemented under the Public-Private Partnership PPP arrangement. Kalumbila District Kibanza Ward Councillor Moses Kokela says the gesture is timely, saying residents of Northwestern Province have been crying for better road networks. Mr. Kokeka explains that once the construction work begins, residents will be more glad, stating that the road network is vital for the country's economy. And one of the residents, Joseph Lombanya, has appealed to the contractor to ensure that local people are prioritized when it comes to job opportunities. Mr. Lombanya says the construction of the dual carriageway is expected to change the face of the province.
Ni kampani kurusana yefo kutwafa ko bino kutupangisha kwa misebo na machito so twatotera sana so apa turi na bena n'abafika kari bari kumutanda so apa ko bari ambira barefo kutwafa ko munjire yingi kuma youth kuri kutwafa ko kuri machito sana batwerefo kutwafa ko kupangisha ko kwa mbira fe ku iziti kabisa pi mutanda andi sorwezi.
For considering that private partnership or public-private partnership is also a mechanism that helps develop countries. We are very much aware of BESTOW's contract, which is being implemented under public-private partnership to do a dual carriageway that starts from Mutanda to Chingola. It's really an humbling gesture because we are receiving what? As Kibanza ward, part of the camp or the camp itself will be in my ward.
The Media Network on Child Rights and Development Executive Director Henry Kabwe has called on the government to apply similar standards so as to ensure that children in the rural areas enjoy the same benefits that come from government on equal basis. In an interview with Camnet TV News, Mr. Kabwe notes that the unbalanced supply of public services is a problem that all countries need to solve, and this imbalance is especially prominent between urban and rural areas. Mr. Kabwe says the unbalanced development in Zambia's rural areas is still severe, clearly reflected in the income gap, infrastructure, construction, medical security, and social security. Meanwhile, pupils in Shangombo district have called for equal distribution of resources, adding that there is no way they can be subjected to a pit latrine while those in urban areas have flushable toilets in schools. More in this report.
The unbalanced supply of public services is a problem that all countries need to solve, and this imbalance is especially prominent between urban and rural areas. Stakeholders say the imbalanced development in Zambia's rural areas is still severe, as reflected in the infrastructure constructions, medical security and social security. By 2030, Zambia aims to transform into a prosperous middle-income nation. Media Network on Child Rights and Development Executive Director Henry Kawe says that can only be achieved if the government applies similar standards so as to ensure that children in the rural areas enjoy the same benefits that come from the government on equal basis. He has expressed concern that government prioritize the urban rural areas by building schools and health facilities which have flushable toilets, while in the rural areas they are subjected to pit latrines. In Shangombo district in Western Province, health facilities visited by this reporter are seen to have pit latrines, while in the urban areas, for example Lusaka, the situation is different as all the hospitals have flushable toilets.
You find that money from the same Ministry of Finance is released to the Ministry of Health, it's released to the Ministry of Education to build schools. The same government will build schools or health facilities which has flushable toilets in urban areas and build pit latrines. Imagine, we are talking about health. That's the Ministry of Health erecting a clinic which has a pit latrine, which is promoting unhealthy behavior. So we expect government to apply similar standards. Are we saying rural people are less human? Are we saying rural people are not supposed to enjoy the benefits that come from government on an equal basis?
School children in Shangombo district are now calling for equal distribution of resources, adding that there is no way they can be subjected to a pit latrine, while those in the urban areas have flushable toilets in schools.
We need equal distribution because a person from the rural area and a person from the urban area, we are all the same, we are equal, and our health matters. So I might say that the services offered in urban areas are the services which need to be offered in the rural areas and the health centers.
We deserve to have equal rights and as well as development. Yeah, so I would tell them to at least develop the health facilities, especially with toilets, because you find that a lot of different people use those toilets, and for us to be using pit latrines, you find that even diseases will be spread widely, because some people are ignorant in terms of sanitation.
United Health and Allied Workers Union of Zambia President Daniel Mwimbe also calls for equal distribution of resources and development.
We need to make sure that distribution of supplies is as equal as here, including the infrastructure. Infrastructural development that we need to put there. The clinics, if you go to some of the clinics, you feel sorry because they are still dilapidated. So we need just to invest much in there, and we are hopeful, like I've mentioned, we are hopeful that since government embarked on the decentralization process of ensuring that more resources are taken to the rural areas, which has come with this new government, and also the devolution of ensuring those functions that were being done by the central government are being decentralized, we are hopeful that the rural area at least will start receiving as much attention as the urban areas.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Opposition Patriotic Front Acting Media Director Edwin Lifwekelo has described as unfortunate and misleading statements by the governing United Party for National Development UPND, purporting that the PF has unleashed cadres to harass citizens in communities, bus stations and markets. Earlier this week, UPND Lusaka Province Chairman Obvious Mwaliteta charged that the PF has unleashed cadres to cause confusion. But Mr. Lifwekelo says the allegations are an indication of the UPND's failure to take responsibility. He questions how the PF can have the strength to conduct acts of illegality under the watch of the UPND government. Here's a report.
Discussions on the reemergence of lawlessness have taken center stage as Zambians cannot comprehend the thought of having political party cadres again taking over the running of public facilities such as markets and bus stations. Earlier this week, United Party for National Development UPND Lusaka Province Chairman Obvious Mwaliteta accused the Opposition Patriotic Front of sponsoring its cadres to infiltrate the UPND and leading them to conducting illegal activities.
When we received those complaints, we had gone on the ground to investigate in Chantichitikapa ground. We came to discover that it's the desperation of PF. PF have now gone back in the streets, batenga mayuthi bao na kubauza kuti UPND is very peaceful. No one will harass you. And then when the stations, and then my roads start mounting my road blocks, illegal road blocks, so that UPND now is misbehaving.
We asked PF Acting Media Director Edwin Lifekelo, who in his response wondered how a political party that is in opposition can have the audacity to indulge in acts of impunity under the watch of a government that prides itself as an administration accredited to the rule of law. He adds that the UPND must take responsibility over alleged poor leadership.
Our job is not to bring mayhem in society. Our job is not to unleash youths on the street, because that will be on our part a very irresponsible act for us to imagine that we can unleash youth who tomorrow will be arrested. They'll be alone there with their parents in the cells and suffering. And me as a leader, I will have that audacity to really take youth to the street to go and mount roadblocks just because I want to cause problems to this government. No. I think that what they need to do, if they have failed to run government, let them call for fresh elections. If they have failed to run government, let them resign from their position and allow competent people to run those positions. And that has been our cry. And our position is you cannot procrastinate and accuse us that we are sending our youths there when you are the one who is in government.
And Mr. Lifekelo is saddened over the resignation of Auditor General Dick Sichembe.
Extremely professional, worked extremely hard to ensure that even when he operated under PF, a number of audit reports to the corruption that could have happened when we were in government were reported and they're in the public domain. And we fear that those investigations that Dick Sichembe had started beyond 2021, they might just be thrown under the bus, and Zambians will not be able to know the truth. So it's a very serious, sad day for Zambia. Dark cloud is hovering over his resignation. Yes, he has his own right to resign, but ultimately we know the same way the DPP was hounded out of office, the same way the Auditor General has been hounded out of office. It's a trend, it's a pattern by the UPND, because they want to bring their own people who would run, who will be directed, who will be given instructions to do this and that, because basically that's what we are saying. We can only assume that that's why he has been forced to resign.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Human Rights Commission has urged those facing human rights violations to always engage the Commission than rushing to social media. Recently, Patriotic Front aspiring President Emmanuel Mwamba complained of violations during his arrest and while in detention at Emersdale Police Station. But Commission spokesperson Mwelwa Mulea tells Camnet News that his organization does not comment on issues without establishing the authenticity to avoid jeopardizing the reputation of the institution. He underscored the need for people to be making formal complaints to institutions charged with the responsibility of safeguarding human rights.
Commission investigates cases of human rights violations, whether someone has reported the case or we've heard about it or someone has come. But what's important for those victims of human rights is to cooperate with the Human Rights Commission. Bring evidence as we are investigating the matter. In social media, it's very difficult for us to start condemning what we have heard on social media before we establish the facts, because we've got integrity to protect as an institution, that we are a constitutional body. What we bring out should be watertight in terms of the evidence that has been obtained through investigations. We don't rush to start speaking in most cases before we investigate the case, because in some cases we can tell that they are not verified allegations, and that can in future jeopardize our reputation to have just and also we are able to see through some narrative which are being created that the condemnation is aimed at rendering credence to some allegations. That we always refrain from doing. We want to do thorough work, investigate, have evidence. Where we are talking about acts of torture, we need medical evidence to establish those facts. but also that we can talk to various players and then we make our own observations and recommendations. So people must be, formal in terms of, lodging complaints, and when they lodge the complaint, if they lodge a complaint with one institution, then you rush to another institution, and then you go to court. If you take a matter to court, the Human Rights Commission will stop investigating the matter, because by law we are not supposed to deal with a matter that is actively being dealt by the courts of law.
Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tawo Kawana has charged that it is not correct for the Socialist Party to insinuate that President Hakainde Hichilema has come to the realization to go to China. Last week, Socialist Party leader Fred Membe said President Hakainde Hichilema has seen the need to engage China. But Mr. Kawana says the president was not going to undertake an abrupt trip to China, saying now that the president has an invitation, he will do so just like it has been the case with other countries he visited. Mr. Kawana says Zambia continues to enjoy cordial relations with China, as he alleges that Mr. Membe wants to create what he terms as a false narrative that President Hakainde Hichilema is anti-China. Mr. Kawana says the government will not allow people to continue peddling lies against the government, especially on diplomatic matters, now that Zambia is in the League of Nations.
Between China and Zambia are very strong ties that span a very long time, starting with our forefathers, Chairman Mao and Dr. Kaunda, and they have remained strong and they have only grown from strength to strength since then. It is also important to note that there is no acrimony between China and Zambia. There is none, there's never been any, and we do not foresee in the near future any at all. Right now, the whole country is in jubilation when it comes to the partial withdrawal of the 20% under NAPSA. But all the people that worked under the character, when they go to NAPSA, they don't know them because they didn't even contribute NAPSA, failing to contribute statutory contributions. And today, many journalists, unfortunately, even when they go to NAPSA, they can't even access a 20% because there's nothing. The man did not contribute. So we just want to make it very clear to him that running a country is not an easy thing. And running a country is not as easy as running, for example, a newspaper that you failed to run and ran it down. Running a country is complex. It requires dedication. It requires somebody that knows what they are doing. You can't run a country based on vindictiveness, based on bitterness, based on hurt. Because what is clear is that we all know Membe never wanted President Hakainde Hichilema to become president in this country. We all know that Membe didn't want UPND to be a party in office in this country. This is orchestrated over the many years that he spent investing in his editorial comments, speaking badly about the UPND and its leadership.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development has challenged the Ministry of Agriculture to be clear on agricultural reforms being undertaken. The United Party for National Development, UPND, upon taking over office, indicated that the Farmer Input Support Program, FISP, will be reformed to a Comprehensive Agriculture Support Program, CASP. But CTPD Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo regrets that there has been little or no efforts to undertake reforms on the FISP and the Food Reserve Agency, as earlier assured.
President Hichilema's United Party for National Development, upon taking over the wheels of power, among the key pronouncements was to undertake reforms and implement a new comprehensive agriculture support program commencing in the 2022-2023 farming season, claiming that the Farmers Input Support Program has presented challenges. The program to be implemented is said to be cost-effective, better targeted, and equitable across beneficiaries. But surprisingly, this has remained on paper, and last week, Agriculture Minister Ruben Piri told Parliament that during the 2023-2024 farming season, the government will continue with the Farmers Input Support Program, FISIP.
That government will continue to implement the Farmer Input Support Program FISIP in the 2022-2024 farming season. The total number of beneficiary farmers targeted, Madam Speaker, is 1,024,434 small-scale farmers countrywide.
But Center for Trade Policy and Development Executive Director Isaac Mwaipopo has wondered why the government has not been able to implement the much talked about reforms. He regrets that he has urged the government to inform the nation at what stage the reforms are and be consultative on the process.
The confusing part about these reforms is that we've already started getting reports indicating that the delivery of farming inputs has started, and we are left to wonder whether this delivery is under the Comprehensive Agriculture Program or it's the same old system. It is our appeal from the Center for Trade Policy and Development that the Ministry of Agriculture should put its house in order, because the agriculture sector remains a very strategic sector towards contributing to the growth and development of our country, as well as the creation of the much needed jobs. But looking at the way things have been handled, it remains quite disappointing, and there would be need for them to step up, open up, be more consultative, and clearly explain to the country what they are working towards.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Police in Lusaka have arrested the director of the Zambian Excellence Entrepreneurship Hub Limited, Lucky Kaluga, for allegedly swindling marketeers more than 300,000 kwacha on the pretext that he was going to facilitate their loans. Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says police received a complaint from Nathan Piri, who reported on behalf of Mwasauka Cooperatives Market in Garden Compound.
Police have formally arrested and charged Lucky Kaluba, a director at Zambian Excellence Entrepreneurship Hub Limited, for obtaining money by false pretenses amounting to 370,480 kwacha. Brief facts of the matter are that on July 11, 2023, police received a complaint of obtaining money by false pretenses from Nathan Puri, who reported on behalf of Masauka Cooperative Market in Garden Compound that the accused fraudulently obtained money from marketeers, purporting to be insurance and registration fees totaling to 370,480 kwacha, by falsely pretending that he was going to give them loans. The accused has been released on police bond and will appear in court soon.
You're watching Camnet Television Main News. We'll take our first break. Join us for more news after the break.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice, too, me.
No, I'm actually watching a reality show. He's about to propose. Oh, so sweet.
Make your trip seem short yet comfortable and safe when you use the UBZ luxurious fully air-conditioned coaches that come fitted with amazing onboard entertainment, passenger information services, coffee-making facilities and fridge for your hot and cold beverages, free and interrupted Wi-Fi for your gadgets, phone charging facilities, comfortable seats that recline to offer extra resting posture, safety seat belts, adjustable reading lights for each traveling client, and of course, clean flushing toilets for your convenience. So travel in luxury and safety with UBZ luxurious coaches. UBZ will always take you there.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Every Monday to Thursday afternoon, join us for the Lunchtime Cafe, we get to bring to you emerging stories making the headlines, midday news, and we remind you of what political leaders and governance actors said back in the days. In forgotten stories, we emphasize to you the importance of eating healthy foods and leading healthy lifestyles on the Nutrition Corner. Get the latest updates in sports and critical interviews. Because we value your contribution to national matters, we accord you an opportunity to share your perspectives during the viewers' reactions. The Camnet TV Lunchtime Cafe is an all-inclusive buffet. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with Camnet Television News. The Zambia Revenue Authority, ZRA, has expressed concern over the continued increase of cases relating to making documents without authority and uttering false documents. ZRA Corporate Communications Manager Oliver Nzala says recently the authority has received reports in relation to cases of fake invoices and people making false claims for VAT refunds. He says this contributes to loss of revenue, but however, the authority will continue to invest in high technology and building capacity of its staff so that such cases are brought to book.
So definitely the authorities are very disappointed with the cases of, making documents without authority and uttering false documents being on the rise, particularly in Ndola. The past few months we've heard of cases of fake invoices and people making false claims for VAT refunds, and that contributes to loss of revenue. But as an authority, we are continuing to invest in high-tech technology and also capacity building for our staff so that they are able to detect such cases or such vices so that we bring the culprits to book. And in this instance we have a 48-aged employee of the Ministry of Education in Ndola who produced or rather made a document without authority and also uttered false documents, some of them purporting to have issued rather to the Zambia Revenue Authority. But we are glad and delighted with the fact that the subordinate court in Ndola did find this the offender and fined or rather sentenced him to 2 years imprisonment with hard labor. However, this is suspended sentence for 3 years.
The Zambia Association of Manufacturers, ZAM, has implored the government to work on reducing the cost of doing business. ZAM Chief Executive Officer Muntanga Lindunda has called for a quarterly review of fuel pump prices, stabilizing the kwacha and electricity disruptions. Ms. Lindunda states that positively, the manufacturing sector in Zambia has recorded a general improvement in the first half of the year 2023. She says in Q1 of 2021, the manufacturing sector's value-added percentage growth rate was negative 3.1% compared to negative 2.8% in the same quarter of 2022, whilst in 2023 a figure of 1.3% was recorded.
As Zambia Association of Manufacturers, we have noted a general improvement in the performance of the manufacturing sector in the first and second quarter of 2023. This is despite challenges that were faced, which included electricity disruption, instability in the exchange rate, as well as the high cost of doing business. We expect that the third and fourth quarter, the performance will be better, especially that Zambia has reached a debt agreement with its creditors. We expect that there will be ease in the pressure as well as predictability of the business environment, because this will enhance planning for manufacturers. As ZAM, we also expect that the fuel pump prices will stabilize. However, we are hoping that the quarterly review of fuel pump prices will be effected.
Higher Education Authority Director General Professor Stephen Simukanga says education is not just about acquiring knowledge but nurturing young minds. Speaking when he officiated at the Chadley House School's 30th anniversary, Professor Simukanga hailed the school for contributing to delivering quality education. Professor Simukanga commended the school seeking excellence by equipping learners with the necessary skills needed to have a bright future. And Chadley House School Board Chairman Patrick Chisanga says the institution will continue to strive in a bid to complement government's efforts in delivering quality education. The ceremony was held under the theme 30 Years of Shaping Minds and Nurturing Bright Futures. Here's a report.
It was a momentous occasion for Chadley House School management, parents, teachers, pupils and former pupils who gathered to celebrate the school's 30 years anniversary. Young people participated in entertainment activities and speeches. And secondly, Chadley House School Board Chairman Patrick Chisanga says the institution will continue to strive in a bid to complement the government efforts in delivering quality education. He said in the last 30 years, the school has grown from having 5 pupils to over 1,000 pupils.
In the last 2 hours or so, this is the sort of thing people pay money to go and watch in the theater. Very, very high and outstanding performances that we have seen here. And all of it performed by the children and the teachers of this great school. Congratulations.
And speaking at the same event, Professor Stephen Simukanga, who was the guest of honor, said the contribution the Chadley House School has made to the education sector cannot go unnoticed. Professor Simukanga says the school's continued growth is evidence of the trust and confidence that the public has in the institution. He said the quality of education that the school has provided over the years is unrivaled.
As we celebrate this milestone, let us reflect upon the mottos that have guided Chadley House School throughout its journey. I'll read 2 of them. One of them says, "Towards a bright future." And the other one says, "Investing in our future." And we have seen the future here. We had the speech from the alumni. That's the future. These mottos embody the visionary spirit that has propelled this institution to greater heights. They remind us that education is not just about acquiring knowledge. It is about nurturing young minds, empowering them to realize their full potential and equipping them with the tools necessary to create a better tomorrow.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Mental health specialist Naim Dalao says following the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been a surge in mental illness. Statistics show that before the COVID-19 pandemic, 1 in 4 people was at risk of mental illness, but with the COVID-19 pandemic, 1 in 5 people have mental illness. Dr. Dalao notes the need to accord mental illness the necessary support and attention, just like physical health issues. And Zambia National Public Health Institute Director, Public Health Policy, Health Diplomacy and Communications Lucy Muzianga notes that effective treatment that reduces hospitalization by 85% is available. She adds that timely diagnosis and prompt testing is essential to early treatment and is vital towards combating COVID-19, further stating that vaccination remains a key response. The duo was speaking during the post-COVID-19 media orientation and research dissemination workshop in Lusaka, supported by Ziwa Science and Technology DSAT and National Science and Technology.
Preventive measures during lockdowns, homes turned into drinking places. True or false? True. And because homes turned into drinking places, what did that do to our interpersonal violence in homes? It increased. There was an increase in gender-based violence as well, including sexual gender-based violence, and hence we saw a surge in childhood, both boy and girl child being molested in communities. So these are ripple effects that we saw not just in low socioeconomic communities, but also in professional homes where the parents are educated. Because of the burden of COVID-19, there was a lot of stress, and children that were home, not going to school, were equally being psychologically abused. They were being shouted at. They were being abused in that manner. So when you look at the ripple effect of what COVID-19 has done, we are yet to see the consequences evolve with time.
And what we noted is that over time, the immunity begins to wane off. So vaccines, work differently in the bodies. There are certain vaccines, for example, the yellow fever vaccine. Once you have the yellow fever vaccine, then your immunity is set. And that's why now we stop repeating. Remember, it used to expire after 10 years, you have to get another vaccine, but we realize that actually your immunity is stable for the rest of your life. But with COVID-19, what we've noticed is that over a period of time, it's beginning to fade off, and that's why we say we needed to boost your immunity.
You're watching Camnet Television Main News.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RainGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Welcome back. In international news, large uncounted numbers of Sudanese refugees who flowed into Libya to escape the ongoing fighting in their country are still living in temporary accommodation. Sudanese refugee Noah Ismail came with his family from Khartoum, hoping to find a safe haven for him and his family in the Libyan capital, Tripoli. He was able to escape the war and reach Libya safely last May. Sudan has been rocked by violence since April 15, when tensions between the military and the paramilitary rapid support forces burst into open fighting. For more international news, here's a roundup.
The conflict raging in Sudan has displaced over 3.1 million people, the UN estimates. Among those forced to leave all they knew behind, some fled to Libya. These refugees found no accommodation. They are holding medical reports in front of the UNHCR headquarters in Tripoli. Noor Ismail is one of them. He came with his family from Khartoum. We arrived in Libya safely, thank God. We were suffering in Sudan. We fled the war. We came here on the 3rd day of May and we went to the UNHCR. They did not care about us. They did not even notice our presence. We eat from the streets. Some people feed us while we're on the streets. In addition to difficulties to support himself, Ismail has to do with an injury suffered in the war. He says he needs an urgent operation on his leg to save it from amputation and calls for help. We want the United Nations to pay attention to our problems. We pray they'll provide us with a place to shelter us. We, as Sudanese refugees, have come here to apply for asylum, and we do not want to stay here. We'd go anywhere safe. Sudan has been rocked by violence since April, when tensions between the military and the paramilitary RSF group burst into open fighting. The conflict has killed over 3,000 people according to data from June. The actual toll is likely underestimated.
Under the cover of the forest, these men work on T-72 tanks, some of which are older than their parents. The location is secret. It's close to the front line because these tanks need to be repaired and returned to the battlefield quickly. The methods are simple and low-tech. 21-year-old Bumper, as he is known, is a mechanic and tank driver. He's just come back from battle.
It was like raining, shells and mines on us. The field was full of craters and mines, and the commander of my unit died when his tank burned with him in it.
The work is arduous and difficult, but there's no other choice. When they're fixed and upgraded, the tanks make their way back to their positions. We've been taken to where the tank is hidden. Now, it has to be really well hidden because there's always drones up in the air where Russians can spot the position of the tank and then target it. This tank crew are getting ready in case they're called out to fight.
Everything is simpler in this tank than others. Of course, it's better to receive the more modern Western tanks. We could then keep these in reserve. It turns out we're fighting T-72s against T-72s. The Western tanks are made to fight against these.
Tank crews are in high demand and essential to Ukraine's counter-offensive.
500 days of war have passed and I haven't seen my family. I'm not given any leave. There's no opportunity. The two sides are evenly matched and we barely manage to beat them.
When the call comes in, they have to be prepared to take positions. This part of eastern Ukraine has Russian forces on 3 sides. When firing, they have to be quick. A shell lands just meters away. They've been spotted. They manage to get away. Undercover, it's always a relief. But they know every mission could be their last. Asad Beg, Al Jazeera, near the front line, eastern Ukraine.
We now have some sports news. In our sports news tonight, the Copper Queens had a merry time with Zambians in AOTEAROA Association, who hosted them for a traditional lunch to celebrate their qualification to the FIFA Women's World Cup. The Zambian community based in New Zealand, who had the opportunity to connect with the Copper Queens, provided traditional hospitality to the Priscilla Katoba-headed group.
It's really surreal to actually have these players that we revere, that we enjoy watching, actually here in the country where we are living and playing at a World Cup final, which is a huge tournament, and the fact that they're doing it, for the first time is actually quite amazing and exciting for us.
I just want to bring a special thanks to you, the Zambian community in New Zealand. We didn't expect this, but of course, as a surprise always, it gives that joy. I know the girls have been motivated beyond what they expected. And I know the girls, whenever they go on the pitch after eating shima, they scamper the whole pitch the 90 minutes. Doctor, I can assure you, if you prepared this shishima a day before the Japanese game, then you are going to see wonders. Like the Nigerians say, wonders shall never end. You could have seen that. But all the same, I want to say thank you so much. This was a morale booster to the girls, because I think they ate in shima some time back. And coming through here, I think it was a blessing. And I think they are calling it a blessing. So we appreciate you. The ladies, those hands that prepared the shima, our staple food, may God richly bless the hands.
And we are behind you. We are a small number here, but we'll be with you throughout. And we'll be there cheering you up. And from the time I've seen you play, you're just an incredible player. You've got a wonderful coaching team. So don't get distracted by some little things which are coming here and then forget about them. The focus is to win the game. The focus is to be together.
Wishing the Copper Queens all the best in the FIFA Women's World Cup. To end Camnet television news, the headlines once again. A village headman in Central Province allegedly defiles a 14-year-old girl. The UPND challenged to take responsibility over the issue of CADRES. The Socialist Party cautioned against misrepresenting Zambia's ties with China. In international news, Sudanese refugees in Libya ask the UN for help. And in sports news, Zambians in AOTEAROA Association host traditional lunch for Copper Queens. Our current verse of the day is coming from the book of Psalms 31, verse 19. How abundant are the good things that you have stored up for those who fear you, that you bestow in the sight of all, on those who take refuge in you. Thank you again for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.